Welcome to the Unstoppable Agents. This is the show where real estate agents learn to build their business, build their wealth, and build a life of impact and significance. That's the most important part of this whole thing. I am super excited here to have Erica Lawton from the Lawton Group at EXP Realty join us. Erica, you've got a great story. I'm excited to hear it. Why don't we just jump right in? I'd love for you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then tell us about your real estate story.
Okay, a little about me. I've been in real estate not quite 10 years. I have the Lawton Group, so I just created a team here like in the last year. I am a licensed agent in Wisconsin and Arizona, so I work on a team in both states, and I do transactions in both states. So I'm working with that snowbird kind of thing too. So like the warm weather in Arizona during the Wisconsin winters. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. How did I get into this? My husband and I had sold a business in the egg industry about a little over 10 years ago. And we were very used to running our own business, and we couldn't compete in the entire state of Wisconsin for what we did. So we signed a non-compete clause. So everything that I went to school for or had known was out of the picture for the next 5 years. So then I just decided, I took a job in a really great community, moved away, and decided I wanted to be self-employed again. So my husband's like, well, why don't you get into real estate? Because at that point we were investing. So we had bought rentals, and I had worked with a really good agent, and I decided to do it. And that agent actually asked me if he could mentor me. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty awesome, because he was a seasoned veteran agent. So I thought that was awesome. So I had that opportunity, and then I got into it thinking I was going to do it part-time. And I'm one to say, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So that's how I ended up here.
It's amazing how the more agents you talk to, it's amazing how many of them got started investing. They started looking for their own properties or getting involved in the process and finding it's a great investment, but just a great wealth building tool. And real estate is the ultimate insider trading business. So if you look at any of the other businesses, stocks, so many other things, if you trade on insider information, if you become an expert more than everybody else, it's a bad deal. But in real estate, that's actually what you're encouraged to do. Yeah. So that's terrific. I want to go back and double click on something. Did you say you guys had an egg business?
Yeah, we had a family-owned grain elevator in the southeastern part of Wisconsin. So yeah, so we took in, most people are like, what is that? So basically we were the middle person for commodities, corn, grain, wheat. We were on a rail line, so a lot of our corn was shipped into Chicago. So it was a logistics business. So it was really neat. I had a great customer base. So that was the one thing when I got into real estate. We had over 500 customers within our business. That was probably tough because I couldn't really call on them anymore. But yeah, it was neat. It was really an industry to be in. It's just in our time of life, we had a great opportunity and we took it, not thinking we'd be doing that at that age.
That's great. And what a terrific pivot. You're in Wisconsin and Arizona. So did you literally say, okay, geez, it's cold right now, so I'm going to go down to Arizona where the weather's perfect? Because right now my in-laws live in Surprise right now, and it's too hot. So they're going up north. Is that what happened?
Yeah, my husband really always had stated we were in an industry where I think the average age was like 64 when we left. So a lot of the people that we knew went to Arizona and went someplace warm, and he's like, I am tired of working in the snow, and he's like, I'm just tired of it. And one day he just said, I'm gonna go. He went for a year, he went for a winter, and I stayed in Wisconsin because obviously you don't walk away from your real estate business, and that's before I had a team.
Yeah.
And then I just decided, because I didn't want to be apart, and I have a daughter that always went down with him, so I wanted to be close to family. And he just said, why don't you get your license in Arizona? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. And Arizona's it's not as easy as Wisconsin. It's tough. And so I'm really glad I had experience when I took it. But I did that, and I said, I'm just going to start a business in Arizona. And that's what led me to EXP.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because I definitely wanted to go there. And being licensed in multiple states, having business in multiple states is a huge advantage for EXP. Tell me how you learned about it, and I want you to walk our listeners through what those advantages are.
Yeah. So when I started it, obviously I knew that the brokerage that I was with in Wisconsin was an excellent brokerage. It was a family-owned company I loved, but they were not going to, I didn't want to have two caps. So that's what I ran into. So I had found somebody online, and it was my sponsor, who is now my sponsor, but I said, hey, you guys looking for agents? And EXP is not big yet in the state of Wisconsin, at least in the western side. You're starting to see a lot more of it, but most people are like, what is that? Well, then you go down to Arizona, and I belong basically to the brokerage, Chuck and Angela at the forum.
Okay.
So when I went down there, and that was even during COVID times. So you couldn't go into the forum. So it was cool how they would bring agents into their home. But my sponsors, you need to meet them. You just need to know a little bit more. And I was a little concerned because of the way things were set up. People always go into that, that's that type of company kind of deal. And I was like, I need a brokerage that I have one cap in 2 states. I am not going to work my butt, because I knew somebody had moved to Florida and she was paying 2 caps. I was like, no way, that's not how we start business. Not in my opinion. So that was a huge deal. And I actually interviewed with another person in the Milwaukee area, because I'm like, well, I need to talk to 2 EXP agents. And the one in Arizona was obviously in Chuck and Angela's group. Excellent. Never, ever made me feel like I had to sign up. At one point, my husband finally said, you need to find a brokerage. At that point, I passed my test. And my sponsor's like, do anything? And I'm like, just give me some time. And for me, it was more like, when should I switch? Because I had my Wisconsin business listings coming up. That's all a balance. My husband finally said, you just need to make a decision. And I called him up and I said, yep, I'm going to do it. And that sponsor, he was really top notch. But Arizona is a different market than Wisconsin, where I live. So just much more professional in most cases, because there's a lot more agents down there. So it's nice to see that. And the training's excellent. So
it really is a massive financial benefit. Whether that's you're coming from Wisconsin, you're working the snowbird aspect of Wisconsin and Arizona. Lots of people get licensed in Florida because they've got investors at the beach, so huge benefit if you want to build your own business and build your own team. But the other benefit at EXP is you really can build your business on referrals anywhere in the country. I've received 2 inbound referrals from people moving to Dallas in the last 3 days. And that's terrific, because that's business for me, but it's also business for somebody else who at another brokerage wouldn't have a way of connecting, wouldn't have a way of making sure that their client was going to get taken care of, and wouldn't have a way to earn off of that as well. So there's just so many great opportunities at EXP. We're one brokerage across the US, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's huge. That was, I think, what I joined EXP over a year ago. And I was just watching the forum, one of the things on the workplace, and somebody said, I need an agent that's a land agent in Wisconsin. She was an EXP agent out of the Washington and the Phoenix area. And I ended up with a $2 million listing. Yeah. So it was like, that was pretty cool. And I was like, it really does pay. It pays off a lot. And it's a nice thing, because then I don't have to go search for agents that are non-EXP. I need somebody. Last one was Tennessee, and I found an agent in Tennessee, excellent. You could see she did a lot of business. So it's a big deal. Yeah.
And by the way, welcome to the company. Here's a $2 million listing.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Awesome.
So just talk about that again. So you've been at EXP for how long?
So I joined late last April 2020.
Okay. Great. So you literally just cleared a year and just earned an icon, became an icon right out of the gate. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So for somebody like you're not only paying 1 cap for doing business in multiple states, but EXP actually gave you your cap back for being a top producer. So now you're actually producing in 2 states for free.
Yep. And that's what's awesome about it. That I also thought no brokerage has ever said, I'm going to give you something back. Usually it's, I'm going to provide you training. And then you're like, oh, that was 2 classes the whole year. That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I'm going to give you something that's going to help you produce more. Okay, I'm going to give you marketing tools, or I'm going to give you something like that, which that's valuable, but it's not actual real dollar. It's not wealth building tools. You still have to work harder to do more versus getting paid as a reward for things you already did.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about your business. Just where does it come from? So where does your business come from?
Yeah. So obviously I've bought in leads in the past, but really what it is for me is a follow-up of my past clients. And as my business has grown, it's word of mouth is part of it. I work non-absentee owners in Arizona because that's different, because you're rebuilding your business. That's a lot of it. And it's just, I'm the person that's probably tried a couple of them, but I'm constant. Our business, we We used a large CRM before we even sold our grain elevator, and it drove people nuts. I'd say, okay, we're going to call all these people today. And they're like, oh my gosh. And this, like, grain is so much easier to sell over the phone than real estate is. And I'm like, easy. So that's a huge deal. Just using your CRM, your drip campaigns, follow up. And like when I miss something, I'm like, yeah, that's not good. That's why we follow up. But occasionally those calls do get missed and I might lose the business. Sometimes somebody just knows somebody though, and they aren't going to go with you again. And that's fair enough. And I have a virtual assistant who works really good with helping me do some of that follow-up. Because as you grow, your database gets bigger, you can't do it yourself.
That's great. So what I'm hearing is you have a consistent system and you just work the system. You follow up, and there's no magic there, because there's no magic in this business. It's you show up repeatedly, consistently, and when you do, eventually someone will move.
Yep, exactly. It's just, constant follow-up. Yeah.
That's terrific. If you had to go back and tell your new agent self something, what advice would you give your new agent self?
I think about that. When I first started my business, I would drop everything for anybody. What I learned is weeding out those people that are wasting your time. That was always my husband and I were in business together for a number of years. So he is the guy I lean against. It was to the point where, am I going to miss my kid's school event, or am I going to go show this? In Wisconsin, it's way different than Phoenix. And you're showing homes that are a lot smaller. So as in price, it'd be $100,000 house, but when you're starting out as an agent, anything is better than nothing. Sure. And then maybe you never settle. And sometimes it takes well over a year to land a client to get them to purchase, especially right now. But that was probably the biggest thing, is your personal time versus your business time. And I'm a workaholic, so I work every day of the week, but I also, my family's going to understand that I'm going to be there, but maybe I'll go work a couple hours. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that becomes what balance looks like. Hey, I'm going to knock out a couple of hours so I can have the other 20 with the family. But if I worked a couple, that gives me the freedom, particularly when you're in a couple of markets, that gives you the freedom to do that. So do you have a coach? Are you into coaching?
Yeah, I am into coaching. I did a coach about, I don't know. I think I started in like 2020 later. I have a coach at Tom Ferry, and I started out with a good coach at the beginning, but some of it was real basic. It was like, I ran a business before, so great coach. It just was not it. So I finally said, hey, I'm starting a team. I need a coach that really knows their stuff. And it wasn't that she didn't, but I have a coach out of Tom Ferry. His name is Mark Prestera, and he is excellent. He's out of the San Diego area and works with a lot of high producers. And I don't work those numbers like they do on the West Coast, but everything that they use, you can use in any area. But that has really helped me, and meet with them once a week. I used to do like twice a month, but I didn't think I needed that push, but when it comes to working like non-absentee, really got to be on it. So it's just great. Or what's new and upcoming, or the masterminds have really been really good. So that connection with agents throughout the US is huge.
Yeah, when you're talking about not absentee owners, right? So systems matter. The tweaking of just the little things matter. So often, I think people that produce a lot, people see people that produce a lot, and they're like, oh, they know what they're doing, they don't need help. No, they actually got there because somebody was ahead of them. They learned from others. We say success leaves clues. You got to get the clues. Right. So you got to find the folks with the clues, and those are coaches. And certainly Tom Ferry's organization is awesome.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, when they think about coaching, they don't want to spend the money. My husband and I ran a really successful business. You have to spend money to make money. That's the way you got to look at it. Yep. Yeah.
And do that and hold those dollars accountable. And if you're 3 months in, 6 months in, you're not getting a return for it, okay, you need to rethink. But that probably doesn't mean rethink coaching. It sounds like you did a great thing and you rethought who the coach was. Yep. And leveled up what it was that you're looking for. All right. So this is awesome. Thank you. I'd love to know any parting comments?
I could probably say, if with EXP as a brokerage, I'm one that has bought a lot of different signs over the years. And I have to say, it's really what people say. It's not, if you really want to be an agent, and I'm a mentor too. And I really like being a mentor because it made so much difference in my business as I started out. It really is like the mentoring they require. There's so much training there. It's phenomenal. And just so many, even with myself, with being at the forum, I don't have that opportunity in Wisconsin, because we're just not that big. I'm not seeing a city of like 5 million, but that is huge. So a lot there. But in EXP Wisconsin's growing as well. Lots of training there. It depends where you go, what brokerage you sign up with. Depends what city you're in.
That's great. Thank you for joining today. You know what? We'll include links to how people can reach you in the description below. And thank you for joining. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, take care.
Yep, you too.